And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new episode of Game Rivals. I'm one of your hosts, Maximilian X, coming to you from Quarantine Central, as always. Um, and as always, I'm here together with my co host and PlayStation aficionado, Sean Templar. How are you doing, Sean Templar?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I mean, still rocking the self quarantine, so but after what 2 months now, I'm ready to see the rest of the world again. Like seeing
Nobody
the
said
same
you have
place
to stay
over and
inside for
over.
2 months. You could take a walk or something. Get some
I
fresh
take a
air.
walk, but like it's still the same area, so it's like okay, it's a lot greener now. The weather is a lot better now, thank goodness, because it was not fun walking and then suddenly raining, and that was not cool.
In our case, it's at least okay. I know that in Ireland, for example, you're only allowed to go outside within a 2 kilometer radius of your house. Like, how the hell am I supposed to know that? I was talking to some guys about this the other day, and they said, "Oh, you could just tie a rope around your waist, and then as soon as you feel some tension on it, it's like, I hit the 2 kilometers." It's like, yeah, what would be nice if everybody did that and everybody walked over each other's ropes, and then
No.
eventually you would get this knot, and nobody would be able to go home anymore.
Oh no. No, please no.
Yep,
That's stupid. Oh, that's stupid.
I know.
It's silly.
But we've come to this situation, and I understand partially that people are going insane because they've been inside for 2 months, and I understand that. I think that the underlying problem is people are stuck with their kids inside for 2 months, which they normally
Exactly.
never do, or they're stuck with their wives or girlfriends, which they normally never do, because it's like you work, you go home, you see them for a couple of hours, and then you hit the bed and you go out, and otherwise it's 2 days a week. But
Hmm.
now it's like 7 days a week, almost 24 hours a day. You're stuck with your wife, your girlfriend, or your kids. Happy days. And now I can't imagine people are really anxious to go outside and like, oh, I can't wait to go back to work or to do other stuff. I mean, yeah, I
I'm
can
like,
understand that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I do miss the company of people, but if you do certain stuff like, um, we had like how negative organized that um Brawlhalla event. That was really fun because like it was a bunch of us just coming together online. Even though we don't see each other, we're talking to each other on Discord. We're smack talking. We're strategizing. There's still that element of connection there, and that was a lot of fun. So, and we are gonna do that again. Which, by the way, Negative extended an invitation to you if you're interested in participating in the next one.
If I want to participate in that tournament,
And yeah,
I don't know. I'm not really good in fighting games.
that's fine. I can train you.
Yeah, but it's also not like more. It's not really my genre, so it's also that. 'Cause I can try to play it, but it's not like it's the same like JRPGs. I don't play those games because it's not my game. So like I'm honored and I'm thankful for him extending the invite. I might want to watch. I don't know if you can stream it, but
I think that is possible. I'd have to ask him how that works because we did kind of sort of did that last time.
okay.
So yeah, I mean, other than that, trying to talk to people, sometimes, and this of course, but yeah, I do miss it, but I'm not going stir crazy. I just want I just want a different location for once.
I can imagine.
That's all. Uh,
Oh well.
yeah.
I mean, like the government here is loosening some of the restrictions, so hopefully a lot of things are starting to turn back to normal.
Yeah, I have my doubts on that, not because of the government, but because of people in general. But we'll see. It looks like we were able to what they call flatten the curve here. So, um, yeah, let's see how long that holds up when those restrictions are loosened.
Yeah.
Anywho, speaking of loosening restrictions, which is a very bad segue
Oh my.
to the news.
Oh god.
um, It has been like for really big news. It's been slow. It's been a lot of small stuff here and there, um, like games that suddenly get released. Like for example, the Mafia trilogy just shadow dropped this week, just out of nowhere. I mean, there were rumors that it was coming, but there was no build up to it. They just released a trailer this past Tuesday when you're hearing this. Um, and it was like, okay, right away, bam, it's live. You can buy either each game individually, or you can buy the whole trilogy, I think, at retail, but the retail version isn't out yet, from as far as I know. So either buy the games individually or buy a trilogy when that's available. And I think it's on PC, Xbox One, and PlayStation 4 for now. It was rumored to be coming to Switch. There were some retail listings back in April, but I don't know if that version was delayed or if that's not true at all. Who knows? Retail listings can be a bit weird. So
Yeah, because they said that Mafia 2 is out right now, and Mafia 1 is going to come out, and Mafia 3 is also out right now. But
yeah,
I don't know what they. I think Mafia 3 is kind of like that Game of the Year edition, in which they put all those DLCs in. But like Mafia 2 is remastered, and I think that they
yeah, it's remade.
remade Mafia 1.
Yeah, which probably is why that one is taking a bit longer. So they're taking a Yakuza collection approach to where Yakuza 3, 4, and 5, you can buy them in a bundle now, but when you bought the bundle initially, it only came with Yakuza 3, and then later when Yakuza 4 came out, you could download that as well. And when Yakuza 5 came out, you could download that as well, or you could wait for it all to come out and buy the retail version that has all the discs of all the games. So I think that's kind of the approach that they're taking to this. And if they're just like building, well, obviously they'd have to, because the models for Mafia 1 are kind of, you know, low poly.
Really old.
So yeah, that needs to be done. I mean, it's the same thing that they also are doing for Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2, which is coming out actually very soon, I think in June or something. And that was actually a surprise because that was announced during the Summer Games Fest, the Jeff Keighley Summer Showcase, as some people like to call it. Um, and that looks cool. I mean, I played Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 to death on the PlayStation. It's one of my favorite games on the PlayStation, and it's kind of the only thing that I'm kind of disappointed at is because back then Activision had the Spider-Man license, so one of the hidden characters for that was Spider-Man, and you could do tricks with him. You could whip his, you could like whip his, what do you call them? His webbing. Um, but I'm assuming that's not in the remake. Um, they might do it for the PlayStation version. I don't know. I don't think so, unless they can strike a deal with Sony. Other than that, I mean, it's cool that it's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you play that back in the day?
Which one?
Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2, or 1 or 2?
Like I tried it, but it's not really my game. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not really into those kind of games.
Yeah. I mean, this is way more arcadey than, say, for example, Skate. Skate is really about the more of the sim kind of aspect of skateboarding, whereas Tony Hawk is like really arcadey and like, you know, racking up multipliers and scores and stuff like that, and
Okay.
objective based stuff.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be cool to see. Kind of weird it's not coming to Switch, but I think their focus, at least for now, is to get a 4K version out, because the trailer was all like in stunning 4K. If you have like an
Uh,
Xbox, if you have an Xbox One X or a PlayStation 4 Pro. Um, So yeah, I mean, they built it from the ground up, but it is based off the original engine from Neversoft. So it should play close to exactly the same as the original games, which is good because those were solid games. More shadow dropping, or more like not shadow dropping, more shadow announcements. Nintendo also announced a new Paper Mario game, which looks really cool, called Paper Mario and the Origami King, where this Origami King, obviously, takes over the Mushroom Kingdom and turns Peach into an origami of herself, who is really creepy and really cryptic. Like if you've seen the trailer, it's like, oh wow, that is some really unsettling stuff that goes on in there. Bowser's all folded up into like a square and following Mario. He
Oh
can't
my
do
god.
anything. Oh man, it looks really cool. The battle system, we haven't seen a lot of it. Looks also really interesting. You're on this you're in this circular arena, and you have I think 3 or 4 levels of rings in them that you can turn to get the enemies to line up and then attack in a row. Um, so that looks interesting. That's coming out the same day as our next article,
What?
Ghost of Tsushima.
Well, no, nobody cares about Paper Mario.
Hey, watch it. There
What?
are people that care about Paper Mario.
Nobody cares about Paper Mario if you can
Yes, they
go
do.
out and play like a ninja or a samurai in an open world feudal Japan. Nobody gives an F about some Paper Mario.
Oh, yeah. Like, I apologize to the Paper Mario fans listening to this because he does not know what he says.
Ah, get out of here, man. Paper Mario, Paper Mario. Anyways, Sony held a state of play in which it
Yes.
was all focused around Ghost of Tsushima, which is really cool because
Their
people,
single best state of play so far.
I think, it was the best one so far.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
because
I
they
think they had,
focused on something.
yeah, they had like a real focus. But also like the style in which they did it. So, as people know, Ghost of Tsushima is a game set in feudal Japan. The Mongolians invade the island of Tsushima, and you are a samurai, but something happens which causes you to turn into what in the game they call a ghost. It's basically a ninja. But you can switch between the playstyles. So there is a ghost playstyle, which is like this stealthy Assassin's Creed kind of like style, and there's this samurai style, which is a bit more aggressive, far more focused on attacks. The ghost, for example, has smoke bombs and shurikens and stuff like that. It was also cool to see that in combat, your character has different fighting stances, and I think they used elements like water and fire and stuff like that. So you
Yeah.
can on the fly switch between those fighting stances, and then you can be more like a heavy attacker or a slow attacker or a quick attacker and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Um,
like playing as a samurai is all about honorable combat, so no backstabbing, um no underhanded tricks to get to them, stuff like that. And yeah, it looks really, really cool. It's all about playing as a samurai is all about timing. Playing as a ghost is all about causing as much chaos as possible while not being seen. So
Yeah, and so it's cool to see that they have like a map, but there's no clear directions or guidance on where you need to go. So there's this mechanic called Guide by the Wind, I believe, and then
guiding wind.
guiding wind, yeah, and then you can just see the flow of the wind or the flow of air guiding you in the direction of your objective, which is a pretty cool mechanic. Instead of just saying like, "Here it is, go do this," and there are also small tidbits in the world that will maybe take you off the main path and cause you to discover new stuff. So, for example, in the game this demo, they showed a fox or a bird guiding you or leading you to something, and then you suddenly find a hidden objective or a side mission or a collectible, or suddenly the bird guided you to a guy who was sitting next to a campfire, and he said, "Oh yeah, there's this stuff happening in the forest, and oh my god!" And then you could head in there, and then you found like a temple you could pray at. So it looks like that the world is jam packed with stuff to do. And may I say that like it looks so pretty. The game is so pretty. I was amazed. I was like, wow, this is running off of a PS4 Pro, and it looks amazing.
Well, it has been 6 years since First Light, so
But even that looked amazing when it came out. But like this, I would almost
I
say
mean
this is
that
an early
the only
PS5
reason I'm
title.
bringing it up like that is because if you've been working on a game for 6 years, if it's not looking good, then I don't know what you were focusing on, unless it was like some next level AI stuff that you were working on.
Yeah, but like you could this, I would almost say, I think if nobody knew about Ghost of Tsushima and you would show it to them and say this is like an early PS5 game, so like in the first PS5 launch game, I think people would believe it. They would buy it. I mean, like, for example, Last of Us 2, which we'll get in a bit,
Hmm.
is also looking amazing. But you can see from Last of Us 2, you can see like, yeah, this is just Uncharted but prettier.
Hmm.
Yeah, that difference isn't as big as with Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah, true, true. It's also a completely different setting in a new IP.
Yeah,
So they have that luxury of approaching it differently, of course.
yeah, definitely. And you have a horse you can ride on. You can just call summon a horse. You can change your outfit, so you can either play as the samurai with full armor, or you can play as the ghost. I don't know if wearing the armor will have effect on, for example, your
Yeah,
movement speed and stuff like that.
it does have different effects that they said.
Okay.
Different armor sets have different effects, but also you have to craft the armor with stuff that you see in the stuff that you find in the environment. So, like picking up flowers with a specific like pigment will allow you to make it in that specific color,
Yeah.
stuff like that. So you can like really customize how Jin looks, which is the character's name.
Yeah, I mean, like it's. Let me grab Metal Gear Solid 5 for example as an example. That game was complete. So like not from a story point of view, but from a mechanical point of view, everything made sense. So you would think of something, you would say like, "Hey, this would be a logical thing to have, but maybe it's not in the game," and it would be there. And it feels the same with Ghost of Tsushima. So like, okay, it would be logical to be able to do this. And from what we saw, I would say, hey, it's there, you know? So it really feels like this complete experience. So I'm really looking forward to when the game comes out. I might even take a few days off just to immerse myself into the whole. I love the Fatal Japan setting. So
Mhm.
for me, it's like an extra.
An extra thing.
Yeah, an extra thing. So
Yeah. I mean, I'm also looking forward to it, but I'm also torn now because like finally a new paper Nine is like, well, crap. Now it's coming out the same day as Ghost of Tsushima. Man. I'm gonna have to make some choices there. But
maybe
I'm
make the not obvious choice and go for Ghost of Tsushima instead of Paper Mario, because that's the obvious choice to make.
We'll see, we'll see.
Well,
I'm not saying anything
well,
right
then it's
now, but
super
we'll see.
easy. Then we
But
already know what you're gonna do. Then you're gonna buy the damn Paper Mario.
no, because here's the thing. This is the first time since what E3 2018, I want to say,
It's only 2 years.
that we saw more of Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think they said they were gonna show more
they
leading
showed
up to the
Ghost of
launch.
Tsushima last year at E3.
Oh, they did.
Yeah, it was announced at Paris Game Show in I think 2018, and it got its gameplay trailer last year at E3. Or was Sony?
Wait, but they didn't do anything last year.
Oh
Sony
no,
didn't do.
no, no, no! Sorry, you're
No,
right.
you're
Right,
thinking of
they didn't go.
2018.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because Sony did the
Yeah,
weird E3 with the guy playing the flute. That was a weird.
yeah, that was 2018,
Yeah, yeah.
dude.
Wow, time has passed so fast. Oh my god.
Yeah, 2019. They were like, we have nothing to show.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's the
Remember?
first year
Yeah,
Sony didn't participate. Yep.
yeah.
Oh well,
So,
that was the only thing Sony showed in the state of play. They mentioned that beforehand. They said we're not going to do PS5 stuff. We'll do that later.
mhm.
The same week, Sony started a new series on the PlayStation blog called "The Last of Us Part Two Inside." So every Wednesday, I believe, they will release a video regarding a certain topic around The Last of Us. So the first one was the story. The second one came out today, which is around gameplay. So they discuss kind of like the differences and what they've added to this game. So, for example, you can lie down and prone right now, and in Last of Us 2 you can do that in the first one, and that's
Yeah, I
also because
remember.
Ellie is a little bit more nimble and she can also jump and climb onto stuff. So their main idea was, how can we make her feel powerful, but not overpowered, because she's this smaller, more nimble person compared to Joel, for example, because Joel's this big guy, and when he throws a punch, it hits hard. So that's kind of like the idea around it, and it's really cool to see that you can, for example, hide in tall grass and you can crouch and move, but you can also do everything while lying on the ground. So it's not like you cannot shoot or anything. You can just in the gameplay demo they show, for example, her grabbing her bow and shooting somebody, and then throwing an empty bottle to distract some people, and then throwing a Molotov. So you are a bit more nimble as well when you're in prone, instead of just being like, oh, I can lie down, like kind of Metal Gear Solid 1.
Hmm.
You can
Cool.
also crawl under more objects, so you can hide on the cars and stuff like that. So
Yeah, I'm curious. I'm curious.
yeah,
Um, and speaking of new stuff that is happening, um, Unreal Engine 5 got announced.
yep, and it looked amazing.
It looked amazing. It was running on a PlayStation 5
Yep.
dev kit. So take take from that what you will. Um, a couple of things that they talked about, specifically the new stuff in the engine, which is the luminous engine, which is the global lighting, the global illumination system that's in there, which is really rad because they showed it off by turning it off. And it's like this spotlight of light and nothing else was lit, and then they turn it on. It's like everything is suddenly um, lit up because of the reflecting light off of the actual surfaces and stuff like that. They also talked about rendering um, new rendering API called, I think, no, what is it called again? Nano something. Oh my goodness, I had it written down here. Um, Nanite. So
Oh,
so
it's still on mute. Oh, okay. Yeah. This is so confusing. It's called Nanite.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, Nanite. So Nanite, which basically allows them to import Hollywood levels of assets in the game and have it render as is, which looks really cool. It wasn't using ray tracing.
Yeah, but the funny thing about that part is that,
This was all just their engine.
yeah, it's running at. They said that a lot of stuff was the textures and stuff like that was 8K.
Yeah.
So that's kind
Well,
of,
here's the thing here's for people that don't understand the technical aspect of stuff. Like for example, games right now, even if they're like HD, the textures might be 4K, um, just to have that extra fidelity in there. Because when you put that kind of level of fidelity onto a lower texture um, mesh, what happens is it looks really pretty, even though the model is not as complex. So them saying they're using 8K uh dang it, what's the word? We just talked. Yeah, thank you. Textures just means that the textures are very high fidelity with a high quality. The plus side is they don't have to render down because everything in the game is still using the high poly counts, which what they showed was a big statue that was made in ZBrush. And if anybody knows the program ZBrush, it's one of the most. Actually, sorry, let me rephrase it. ZBrush artists are people that really love to put a lot of details into their models just because they can. The only problem is now, if they want to have that level of um, detail, they have to turn it into a normal map, apply that to a lower resolution model so that it looks like it's very high quality, but it's really not.
yeah.
But now they don't have to do that anymore with Unreal Engine 5, and they can do that multiple times and not have the system bogged down. At least when it comes to the next generation systems, there won't be a bottleneck on how that works, which is really cool for next generation. Um, They also showed off their new particle effect engine, which is actually smart. It's driven by AI. So, for example, if you make a particle effect and you call them bats, for example, that's the example that they showed. The particle effect will react like bats do, and will stay out of each other's way, so they don't, clip into each other and stuff like that. Bugs on the floor will react to like light in a realistic way, where they part away, or when you step around them, stuff like that. They'll react in a realistic way, even though it's driven by a particle effects engine,
Yeah.
which is really cool.
Mhm.
It could end up being a really cool gameplay mechanic if handled right, especially the global illumination engine in this one makes me go like, okay, if you're gonna use Unreal Engine 5 for the next Tomb Raider, you're gonna have a lot of cool a lot of cool mirror puzzles that you can do with that, because you can now actually like focus a beam of light, for example. I'm not sure if that's possible. I hope it's possible, but you can focus like a beam of light bouncing from actual mirrors, and they react realistically
Yeah. Yeah.
instead of
They,
just manipulating stuff.
They also said that besides all the visual stuff, they focused on a lot of sound stuff. So now there's also more improvements around sound and audio in the game, and they really showed it well. That there's this part in which the character has to squeeze through a narrow opening, and they said that's not to load anything. That's not to load the
They
next
had to
part of the
correct that
level.
because they didn't say that in the actual thing, and people
Yeah,
did their
people thought it was like, oh, it's
misunderstood.
because to load the back, and they said, no, no, there's not to load stuff. It's just to show you how detailed the environment is, because you would see these tiny bits of rock also fall off of the bigger rocks, and you would also hear a clear difference in all those little pieces dropping. So, like from an audio point of view, it's also spot on. I tried to kind of pay attention to that, and I thought, like, hey, this is really really nice. So because I think audio will be a huge focus in the next gen, because it's always one of those things that we haven't been able to do a lot around. So, and Sony's also taking the spear with that, kind of saying like, hey, we have the Tempest engine. So I think like a lot of stuff will also be in around audio. A lot of people are saying like, okay, in this generation we might not see a big leap in visual fidelity, as in from like the graphics become prettier, but we'll see a lot more stuff around the game, like audio or more stuff happening in the game, instead of it just looking photorealistic, which is actually a nice approach, because I'd rather have a lot of stuff happening in the game, which wasn't possible earlier, than that it just looks photorealistic but it's kind of bland. Kind of like The Order 1886, which looked like an amazing game, but that was the only thing. It was like this really expensive tech demo. I played it, I liked it, but yeah, I mean, it had a lot of missed potential.
The thing that I'm honestly still hoping that will happen in game development is, because we've reached a point where fidelity is that high with visuals. I really hope that we finally get to a point where they can on um, focus on AI, like focus on enemy behaving more realistically than ever before, because there's still games that you play and they still stick to like a path, and it kind of breaks the immersion. Um, so I kind of hope that that is something that they'll also strive for going forward. But the future is looking bright. This is still an alpha version, by the way. The Unreal Engine is gonna debut in 2021. The first game that's probably gonna be using it is Fortnite, because they said that once the last version of Unreal Engine 4 is out, which is 4.5
For now,
I believe.
they're saying 4.25 is already
Yeah,
supporting next gen, so PS5 and Xbox Series X,
yeah.
because they have worked closely with both parties to make sure that all the games can support it. Unreal Engine 5 will be available in preview in early 2021 and in full release late in 2021, supporting next generation consoles, current gen consoles, PC, Mac, iOS, and Android. they've also allowed their, they call it the Epic Online Services, which is basically a multi-platform SDK for free that allows
For
friends,
developers.
yeah, that allows friends, matchmaking, lobbies, achievement, leaderboards, and accounts. That all the stuff they built for Fortnite is now available to implement in your own game. I think it also incorporates crossplay in this case,
Yeah.
and it's basically on all the platforms that I just mentioned, plus the Switch. Let's not forget about the Switch,
Yeah, that's all the platforms. Why you're making it seem like it's something separate.
because I didn't mention the Switch when I said that Unreal Engine 5 is coming to certain platforms.
Well, you said it's coming to all the platforms.
Yeah, but like sometimes the Switch is kind of like
It's
left
fine.
out a
It's
bit.
fine.
You know,
Yeah.
they want to be
Uh-huh.
included in everything. And like, hey, I'm still
Uh-huh.
here. I'm still here. Don't forget about me.
Yeah.
I'm
I
useless,
mean,
but I'm okay.
Epic's modus operandi when it comes to the game engine since Unreal Engine 4 has been that they want their engine to run on everything.
Yep,
So it makes sense that the Switch would still be supported. So in this case,
yep.
I mean, it wouldn't be as fidelity. It wouldn't be as full fidelity, but I'm assuming pro stuff like the sound and the particle effects thing being an improvement on what you could do with Unreal Engine 4 on Switch. So,
Yeah, but like if you
but
look at how Unreal Engine looks on a mobile device, that looks amazing as it is already. I mean, it was called Infinity Blade, I believe. It was the first game running Unreal Engine on an iOS device in this case,
mhm.
and that looked amazing. So if you look at, and Fortnite, for example, also looks amazing on mobile devices. So it shouldn't, the hardware shouldn't necessarily be like a big limiting factor if you can see what they
Nah,
can squeeze out of it already.
nah, not really. I mean, not in these days.
No.
Um, but um, the thing is, right now that Unreal Engine 5 won't be out until maybe middle or end of 2021. So don't expect to see any Unreal Engine 5 games in 2021. Expect, at least outside of Fortnite, expect to see them coming out 2022 onwards.
Yeah.
If even that. I mean, at the earliest maybe late 2021, at
Um,
the latest like early to mid 2023.
Here on the website, it says that Fortnite will migrate to your Unreal Engine 5 in mid 2021.
Ooh, yeah. So that's because they are working on it on tandem because they're using Fortnite as a base.
Yep.
Um, yeah. So I guess. Sorry, I'm hearing stuff from your background.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of people in the house, so sometimes, those sounds pop in once in a while.
Ah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of overhauling engines, Anthem. We
Yeah.
haven't talked about poor old Anthem in quite a while. They
Yeah.
had an update recently, didn't they?
They gave an update on the website around what is happening. So they confirmed a while back that the overhaul is happening. But they said that they're working on the game with a 30-ish people crew, which is, it sounds like a skeleton crew. And it's gonna take a while for the overhaul to be completely done. So they will also, they're in like early phases. They're so prototyping a lot of stuff. They
Mm,
intend to involve the community eventually, so that they can also see. So the idea is that they want to be completely transparent and open, and they want to do that in multiple ways with live streams and blog posts and stuff like that. So they said like, hey, there's a possibility that you might see things and systems that eventually will not end up in the game because we thought it didn't work, or we were based on feedback we figured out it's not going to work. I think it's kind of their path of redemption, unlike what Ubisoft does when they go on this, because they've done it a lot of times with Rainbow Six and The Division. They create these task forces and then they involve people in those task forces. They come over and then they give feedback on the game. I think in the current situation, it's a bit more difficult to do that. Um,
yeah, no
but
kidding.
based on that, I think it's going to take like at least a year or maybe two before we see something, and then by that time they'll probably call it Anthem 2.0 or Anthem 2 or whatever. So it's
I
just
mean, if they're starting with a if it's a 30-man group, it feels more like they're
expansion.
starting. Well, no, it feels like they're starting from the ground up again. So basically, they're going into like pre-production and prototyping, because that's what you would do. Like this is actually bigger than like what you would do with a prototyping team. It's mostly a prototyping team is like 5, 7 people, depending how big your studio is and how many people you can actually afford to like work on stuff like that. So okay, I mean they have a long road ahead of them, and I think they're hedging their bets on either making a sequel to Anthem or rebooting the whole thing on next gen.
I think they're gonna do. I think they might pull a Final Fantasy 14.
I hope they do. Um, but at the same time, I'm worried that if they do pull a Final Fantasy 14, what does that do for people that have been playing up until this point?
Yeah, I think they'll try to carry over the progress.
I hope so because Final Fantasy 14 did not do that. That that was a scorched earth approach that they did.
Yeah,
Like literally, like the event destroyed the whole world and brought it back together.
I know. Yeah, I
Oh man.
mean, we'll just have to wait and see.
But it's been successful ever since. So
Yeah. For the people that don't know, Final Fantasy 14 had kind of like a reboot, and while they were working on the reboot, they also supported the old game with content. And so there was this cataclysmic event which basically stopped the old game, to put it that way, and kicked in the reboot. So people would start in the new game directly, and then it will all just be working and as it should have been. There's an interesting series on YouTube from NoClip that go into depth in this. It's pretty cool to see. They also interview the developers and stuff like that. So I would recommend people, if they want to know more about it, to check that out. I didn't know, so I watched it and I was like, wow, this is pretty cool how they pulled it off.
hmm yeah, it's amazing. Like really, I mean, because it's a Japanese company, of course, they had to apologize. Like they had a press conference where they apologized for the crappy launch and the crappy game, and that they were going to work on it. So we haven't seen that from EA yet. So who knows? I don't think we'll ever see something like that.
They're not, they're too American
Um,
for that.
yeah, they're too American for
You know
that.
what's funny? I'm surprised that I would expect EA to be one of the companies to jump on the remaster bandwagon, like the first in line, but EA hasn't done that at all. And
No,
now
because they're
slowly,
probably
yeah.
no, because they're doing that thing where they're just gonna release enhanced versions so that you can upgrade it to it once, like they're doing for Madden. Apparently, they said that that's what they're going to be doing for most games that are coming out
No,
this
no, what
year.
I mean is like they grab their old games and they remaster it, they
Ah,
re-release it. So like I would have expected them to be the first company to jump in line and to do this, but they haven't done it until recently. They announced during their investors call that they're going to start looking at it because they're hinting that they might remaster the whole Mass Effect trilogy, which would be cool. But like I when I heard it, I'm like, it's so strange that this hasn't happened like 2 or 3 years before. Because if there's one person or one company that you would call a cash grabber besides Activision, it's EA.
true, true. Um, I think it's also an investors call that they were saying, yeah, we're actually gonna bring stuff to Switch now, 3 years later. Which
It's really
started, so of course,
disappointing, which I get.
with which started with. Oh, actually, I heard something recently, which probably is shedding light on why it's happening. Um, because Burnout Paradise is coming to Switch,
Mhm.
and $50 still. Like what the frick? Um, um, there's rumors that the Mass Effect trilogy that you were talking about is also coming to Switch, which would be nice since they kind of gave Nintendo the bird and only released Mass Effect 3 on Wii U when like literally a week later the trilogy came out on PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 3.
Yeah.
Um but the interesting thing that I learned this week is that Doug Bowser, the current president of Nintendo of America, used to work for EA.
So he might be leveraging his connections.
I think he might be leveraging his connections to rebuild bridges because they burned bridges during the Wii U era. Because apparently EA wanted to be the ones that does the infrastructure for Nintendo's online system through you know um, Origin,
Mhm.
and Nintendo was having none of that because of course they were not. Because seriously, it's like walking up to Microsoft and saying, "Yeah, let's replace Xbox Live with Origin." Like you think that
I
like you
mean,
think that Microsoft would be okay with that?
yeah, but like Xbox Live is like a superior product. But I mean, Sony, for example, is using Microsoft Azure to run PlayStation Now. And in the investors call they recently had, they said that Microsoft has been a tremendous partner, and that it's going to be an amazing add-on for the PlayStation Now experience for customers.
Yeah, but that's mostly because as like Microsoft treats each of their branches as its own company. So Xbox is its own thing, and the Azure team is its own thing. So they do their own businesses, and they keep that kind of animosity separate from one another, which I think is why it works.
But yeah, let's be honest.
Um,
I mean, Nintendo Switch Online, or I don't know if it was for the Switch or for the Wii U, but it wasn't that amazing. It wasn't. Nobody talked about it. It didn't have any numbers. So it like if an
well,
EA
it
offers
wasn't.
it, I would say, hey, maybe we can lean on your expertise and do it in the right way instead of saying, well, we're going to do it in our own way.
Well, I'm not gonna say that it was great. I'm not gonna say it's great now. But I will say this: Miiverse was one of the most like fun. I guess what you call it, you'd call it now because it died with the Wii U. The most fun experiment in social gathering of gamers that they've ever done. And I'm kind of disappointed that they didn't move over to the Switch because it was a really cool way of integrating um, like social stuff with gameplay. It was basically a system wide version of what Dark Souls does with the messaging in game, that you can leave messages
Hmm.
in the game world, but you could do it for almost any game that supported Miiverse. So you had Mario that was using it where people were just saying like, "Oh, this level is easy," and then you go into this level, it's like really hard. Or if you were playing Mario Maker levels, people will leave in like, "Oh, this game is like this level is like a real troll level," or "Watch out for this," and then it's like it misleads you, like, "Oh, here's a special item." It's like, "Oh, okay," and then you get like an item that kills you or stuff like that. And it was a really fun integration. I mean, the online aspect wasn't that great, but Miiverse was something that I kind of wish more people did. But with Doug Bowser allegedly smoothing things over with EA, we are starting to see EA games appear on Switch. So I don't know how far they're gonna take it, because the rumors have been that um, Apex Legend is also coming to Switch. Which, okay, is that running on Unreal?
No, it's running on, I think it's Source. At least it's something that Respawn uses internally. But for
Yeah.
example, Titanfall was built on Source Engine.
Hmm. I have no idea if the Source Engine is compatible for Switch. I don't think so.
I don't know.
Yeah. At least I haven't seen anything about it that says that. Anyways, but yeah. Uh, EA doing some interesting stuff. I mean, curious to see how that's gonna go. And the last thing I want to bring up before we move on to what we've been playing to the second segment is that there was a report on VentureBeat stating that we shouldn't be expecting any Nintendo Directs in June and possibly beyond, at least for the foreseeable future, because of how the whole pandemic has been disrupting people, because people working from home and developers working from home, not just Nintendo developers but also third parties. It's making it a lot more difficult to plan like an event so that they can have trailers ready or the game ready. So it's kind of hard to plan stuff like shadow dropping games and announcing games. You're not sure if they're going to come out this year. Some games might be delayed, stuff like that. So don't expect to see any directs anytime soon for the next couple of months. Um, but do expect to see like a lot of games being announced for the Switch from Nintendo itself as well. That's why we got that sudden announcement of Paper Mario, because normally they pull it all together and put it in a direct. But even now, they're not really doing that. They're not even doing like a direct for a game specifically. So I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see the coming months. But between Summer Game Fest and Gamescom going digital for 2 weeks, we have a lot of game announcements that are coming our way in the next 2 months. So it's gonna be exciting. I mean, Microsoft is gonna have their big first party event for the Series X in June or
Ubisoft
July.
is going to do something in July.
Ubisoft is doing something in July. The rumors of PlayStation doing something in early June as well. So there's a lot to look forward to.
It's going to be some hopefully an exciting summer.
I think I think they'll be able to get people excited about the coming year in gaming. Um, Beyond that, I'm not sure, but at least for the coming months, it's gonna be exciting.
Hope so.
Oh man, have more faith in the gaming the industry, man. All right, so that's it for the news. Stick around, and we'll be back with the second segment and what we've been playing.
Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to our second segment. What have you been playing? So, Maximilian, what have you been playing in these dire COVID-19 times?
Actually, kind of a lot. I
Oh,
mean, I'm still checking in every day for Animal Crossing, which is now basically just running the motions since I got the 5-star ranking. They did introduce a new event, which is the stamp rally in the museum, which is fun, but it's very easy to go through, so it's not that exciting. What is exciting is that I finished 2 games
oh my God.
in the span of 48 hours.
That's never happened before.
Yeah,
Were they mini games?
no. The first is The Last of Us, which I already was talking about that I was starting to play it, but I was playing it on and off. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, you know what? The game is coming out in like less than a month, and I want to at least finish it. I'm still not sure if I'm gonna get The Last of Us Part Two, but at the very least, if it happens, I want to be able to pick it up when it does come out. So I powered through it. I played the game, finished it. The dang thing crashed on me during the last mission,
Oh,
so I had to do the last part over again. Oh, that pissed me off so much. But I was able to do it. I finished it, and I also beat the DLC Left Behind, which is like not very
I
long.
haven't played that one.
It's not very long. You can beat it in an afternoon,
Okay.
which is what I did. And mm, how do I say this? The story is very compelling. I am not 100% sure. I'm not 100% sure if I'm sold on the gameplay of The Last of Us, because even though the story is compelling enough for me to continue to see where the story goes, the it's not. It doesn't. It's not that it plays badly. Like the controls are solid. It's just that you have to switch between, I think, at least two different kind of play styles. You're either I mean, the main thing is of course sneaking around, not getting chomped up by the fungus people, um the fungus infected, or getting gunned down by the hunters, because you know they're jerks and they want to harm you for whatever reason. And I don't know, the first half was okay. It was very The pacing is a bit slow in the beginning, but I didn't mind that it was slow paced because you could absorb the atmosphere, follow the story along. But from the second half onward, it's just really tedious, because then you have to do a lot of sneaking around, you have to do a lot of gunning, even though you don't have a lot of ammo, and you have to do a lot of running. And if you're not careful, you die. And at a certain point, I didn't care anymore because I just wanted to experience the story. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna play this on easy. So I switched it to easy so I could actually finish the game. And wow, like the story has like a lot of very sad beats, man. Like especially the second half, which is why it's kind of disappointing, because the second half really gets into the relationship between Joel and Ellie, and there are things. I mean, should I go spoilers or not? Like, what do you think? I mean, the
I
second game is
think
about to come out in a month, so who cares, right?
I think you can because the game's been out for so long. I mean, people
Yeah.
have so many opportunities to play it. Um,
Yeah,
uh,
screw it. Spoilers. Spoilers for Last of Us, the first game, not Last of Us Part 2, obviously. But basically what happens is that they come across one of the freedom fighters called Fireflies, um, who has this girl called Ellie, and Ellie was bitten by one of those infected people. The I think was it a like a runner or a critter or a clicker
you
or
don't
whatever.
know because you see her when she's already bitten.
Yeah, you don't know because exactly that you find out afterwards, like early on in the game, that she was bitten, but she didn't turn. So it's like her arm is like a bit infected, but like that's it. She hasn't gone completely fungal. And the whole point is to get her to a research facility that's being run by the Fireflies in, where was it again? Colorado or something? And that's basically the whole plot. It's get her to the research facility to so that they can find out why she's immune and make a vaccine
Yeah, they want to try to make a cure out of her something.
situation.
Yeah, and then eventually it would mean that she has to die to be able to make the cure because they need to do something with her brain.
Yeah, but you don't find out about that until the end of the game,
Yeah,
because all the while they're going through all these hardships to get there. One of Joel's companion Tess gets bitten and goes down in a blaze of glory because the military's after them. Because everything is basically either a military state or you're being hunted down by these groups called hunters, who are just renegades who fend for themselves and don't care about anybody else. Um, and at a certain point, Joel gets injured by one of these hunters, and he almost dies. Like he gets stuck through with a piece of rhubarb, and Ellie has to save his life. Um, and she essentially does, but not without almost. How do I say this without it getting? She gets captured by hunters that want to chop her up. I can't explain that in any other way. Like they eat people to stay alive.
yeah.
So they're cannibals. But oh man, that whole sequence is so gut wrenching because it's this little 14-year-old girl who's trying to save what basically has become first her smuggler and now her surrogate dad. And she goes through all that in the dead of winter, getting food for her and Joel, um and making sure that he makes it. She eventually does get um and antibiotics from one of the hunters, who eventually captures her, because apparently their reputation precedes them because they have been laying waste to a bunch of hunter groups, and they're apparently from the same big hunter group, so they want revenge on Ellie and Joel. um and that's where that whole chopping up comes from. But Joel eventually saves Ellie, and it's like a really powerful moment because she was fending off like the leader of those guys in a trapped in a building, and he set fire to the building, so the fire's like encroaching on them and stuff like that. It's like, oh man. And Joel has to go find her, and he was like not having it. He was relentless. My goodness. Like if you see the scenes, it's like the most relentless thing that you can see. Is like, wow, like he really cares for this girl all of a sudden, because in the beginning he did not care for her at all, even though he found out that she was immune and she might be humanity's last chance. He was still like, yeah, I don't want to deal with this stuff. I just want to bring her to where she needs to be and like go back to Boston. Um,
I think it's cool to see that their relationship changes over time, and he like in the beginning really hates her, to put it that way. He just sees her
and
as
he's
a
closed off to her, and
yeah, he sees
yeah,
her as a package. He just needs to deliver, and eventually he just um, gradually, as you play the game, their bond strengthens, and then they really turn into this father-daughter moment. And then it kind of echoes into the trailers of The Last of Us 2, where you where he has like a thing he calls her. I don't know if it's baby girl or something like
yeah,
that. He
baby girl,
baby girl. He calls her that, and you see that in the Last of Us 2 trailers. So it's cool to see that change. It's a lot more like an emotional ride, I would put it. And
yeah,
at the time when the game came out, it wasn't really something games did. That might also explain why the Neil Druckmann cried when he finished the second one. All grunge and relief aside.
yeah,
So yeah, I think that's one of the powerful parts of The Last of Us. It just pulls you along this emotional ride.
yeah. I mean, that's why I, again, despite my hiccups against the gameplay, I stuck in there for the story, and the way that story ends is, it's not a happy ending. It's also not a bad ending, because Joel finds out that the only way that they can extract what they need to extract is to get it from her brain, because that's the first thing the virus tackles. It goes straight to the brain and it nestles in your brain and it starts taking over your motor skills, and you basically disappear and you become just a mindless runner or clicker, depending on how long you've been affected, or if you've been affected for a really long time, you become this disgusting thing called a bloater. Like, I mean, it's clearly modeled after
Left for Dead.
Left 4 Dead's Boomer, but like way more disgusting. Except, no, it's not puking on you; it's just throwing these stupid spore bombs, which are really annoying, by the way. Um, and Joel is not having any of that, because he spent, like, the game takes place over, I think, a year and a half from point A to point B. And, in that time, they really bonded. He thought probably that they were only going to take her blood or whatever and use that to make a vaccine,
Yeah,
but they had to get to the brain, because that's the part that usually gets infected. And her brain was not infected at all, because she's immune. Well, she's immune, but she is infected.
yeah,
That's the whole weird dynamic, and that's why they wanted to, get to her brain, which meant that she would die. And he was like, "No, no, that no, she deserves to live, and I love her, and she's like a daughter to me." And he saves her by going all Rambo on the whole facility and pretty much killing almost everybody.
yep,
Um, and then when they go back to the settlement where his brother lives, because, like, I think 3 quarters away, you get to to a settlement where his brother lives. He's married now. He has a wife. Um, so they went back there to like live out their lives. And Ellie asks her for, was was there did they really not need her anymore, because she was under the impression, and everybody, of course, that she was the only one that was immune. And Joel told her, no, no, they have other people that are also immune, so they don't need you anymore. But, from that last scene, the way she asked it was not that she had doubts, but she wanted to confirm her doubts,
yeah,
that he just took her away from there, and that's why she's alive, because she had already accepted her fate.
yeah,
Even though she's that young, she'd already accepted her fate, that, you know this is for the greater good, and he just took me from that. So I'm curious as to see where that relationship goes in part two, because when they start showing stuff about part two, Joel was nowhere to be seen. So a lot of people assumed that Joel was dead, considering the fact that he was pretty old in the first Last of Us. I mean, he was pretty old in the Last of Us. Like
No,
he's
well,
older now
yeah, but when you look
because it
at
took
it,
because if I'm not mistaken, the Last of Us takes place, I think, 20, 30 years after the infection broke,
I,
after the pandemic broke loose in that game.
I don't know. We'd have
I
to double
think
check
so.
because you play
Like,
with a young Joel in the beginning, like in the
yeah,
opening act of the game, and then time skips forward. Let me just
I
quick.
think it's like it skips for 20 or 30 years.
I thought it was 10.
No, because in 10 years, no way that buildings become that decrepit.
Mm. In September 2013, it starts, and then
And the game takes place in,
yeah, so in September 2013 is when the game starts out, and 20 years later.
yeah, 20. Yeah.
Yeah,
See? No way, like no way cities become that decrepit in like 10 years.
I don't know. Maybe if
Yeah.
it's not maintained well.
Ah, come on. No, no. Decade is too short. No, 20 years sounds more accurate. Yeah, but like he was already like in his, I guess, I don't know, early 30s, maybe like late 20s when that happened. So he was at least in his late 40s, 50s, early 50s, when he met Ellie. So he's like even older than that now.
Uh, well,
So
yeah, it's coming out soon, The Last of Us 2, so we'll probably know more. I just
yeah.
wonder what's going to happen to Joel. Will he be like a character that makes a cameo once in a while, or will he be like this prominent character that's there? Because I kind of have a feeling I know where the game is going to, but I don't. And at one time, at one point, I would understand that it's going that direction, but at the other side, I would say like, yeah, but this is so cliche.
Hmm. Did you check out the latest trailer? Because I didn't, specifically because I don't want to get like
I watched it.
it's
It doesn't.
incidental. I don't.
It's not like
Yeah.
it's spoiling a lot or anything.
Okay, because the last trailer for Final Fantasy VII remake kind of spoiled a lot of stuff.
That's
I found out later. It's like, oh,
uh,
ooh, that's a lot of end game stuff. Yeah. So Last of Us. Yeah. Wow, I have way more to say about that than I thought.
that's how good the game is. Yeah, I mean, it got tens all over the place.
And the story is good. The story is good. I'm still skeptical about the gameplay, but the story is compelling enough to pull me along.
What's a bummer is that the gameplay of The Last of Us influenced the Uncharted 4 in such a way that it sometimes felt a bit too forced. So, for example, in Last of Us, you have these traversal moments in which you have to either solve a puzzle to get up somewhere, and then you have like a big crate that you drag on wheels,
Yeah.
and then you jump on it, and then you get to the area where you need to do. They literally copied that mechanic into Uncharted, but they overuse it in Uncharted 4.
Oh no.
So it felt so forced at times. Like, oh, I'm in a room. Oh, I don't know how to get up. Wait, let me look for the big box on the wheels because that's probably the way
Yeah.
I'm going to get out of this. And lo and behold, a big box with wheels. So it
Yeah.
kind of ruined it. That was one of the criticisms of Uncharted 4 that people had. And saying, like, hey, but this feels so forced. It doesn't feel natural as if it's adding something to the game. It's more like an ends to a means. And they're like, yeah, but that's not the right one.
Yeah, true.
Oh, well, yeah.
Oh well. And the other game that I finished was Detroit Become Human.
Yeah, I finished that one a while ago. It's really nice, right?
Yeah, it's like again with The Last of Us. Oh, by the way, I also finished Left Behind, which is like a very short DLC campaign. It basically takes place between the part that I was talking about where Joel gets hurt. And it goes more into the backstory of Ellie. So I'm not gonna spoil it for you because you haven't played that
I
one
haven't
yet.
played
But
it yet. I don't know if
it's
I'm going
it
to.
it adds more to like Ellie's story. So you find out how she gets infected, and like at the end of The Last of Us, she talks about her friend Riley.
Mhm.
So it's like their relationship, um, like what their relationship was like. Um, and that's basically it. It's not. I mean, it's cool. It's nice. It's sweet. There's not a lot of combat except for the last mission, which is really freaking annoying because it's basically just it's a horde mode, and not a fun one because you're Ellie, and Ellie does not have the same capabilities as Joel does. She's not as strong as Joel, so she dies really easily, and you don't have a lot of ammo for the weapons that you do have. So it's really annoying that they put Ellie in a horde mode situation. Other than that, yeah, I mean it adds a bit, but I don't think it's necessary to play it. Left Behind, if you want to get the just the story aspect, just watch the story parts on YouTube. Anyway, Detroit Become Human. This is the closest I think David Cage has come to making a movie, which is saying a lot since all his games are basically him trying to make a movie in a video game.
Interactive movies.
Interactive movie. This is probably the best playing one, which is saying a lot because I still hate the gameplay in this game.
Yeah,
I
I know
hate
what
the
you mean.
fact that I get why it is like that, and I understand and I respect his creative direction that he takes with his games. But between Beyond Two Souls, which I thought was boring from
I didn't.
not only a gameplay standpoint and from a story standpoint, not saying that the story wasn't interesting, there was way too much jumping around in time with that. This is one linear line through a story, which takes place across three different characters, which is really cool. Um, and the fact that every time when you finish a
You
chapter,
know why I didn't play Beyond Two Souls?
why?
Because the main character, that chick, I can't remember her name. She's a Hollywood actress. She
Hmm.
complained that Ellie looked too much like her in The Last of Us, and I think she even sued Sony for it. And when that happened,
Oh, you
I
mean
was
oh dang it, what's her
she
name
plays
again?
in that Christopher Nolan movie,
Yeah, yeah,
Inception.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. I know who you mean. I know who you
when,
mean.
when she pulled that shit, I was like, yo, this is just a compliment. Take it because it might actually help your career. But no, instead of doing that, you have to sue and complain about it. And I was like, okay, it's done. I never want to see anything related to you or with you because I can't handle
Was it Ellen Page?
that.
I think it
Yeah,
was Ellen
it was
Page.
Ellen Page. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't like her. And she'll probably say the same if she listens to this podcast. Like, I don't like you too. But no, let it be known, I don't like her. No reason to make a big deal out of a big compliment you would get. But hey, you know,
Yeah. Yeah. Wait, am I sure? Wait, hang on. Let me double check first. That's before we're like before you're bad
I
mouthing
double
someone
checked
else.
on
Yeah,
on
it's
the
Ellen
internet.
Page.
It's Ellen Page.
Yeah.
Yeah, just double checked.
Yeah.
But anyways, you do your thing. Sorry.
Yeah. So Detroit is a very interesting story. Basic. It's basically how do I say this without it's basically a human rights story, but in place of human rights, so like of minorities, it's androids. The
Yep.
androids are the minorities this time because they're made by humans. They have way more capabilities. They're stronger. They have no, they can do a lot of stuff because of their computational powers, and they look realistic, of course. And it's basically it's basically a civil rights movement where androids try to fight for independence, but it's through the lens of three different characters. um, a housekeeper who breaks out of her protocol to save her owner's daughter, um, a detective who's trying to figure out why androids are becoming what they call deviants, so acting more human than they should, and a caregiver for an old man who breaks out of his protocol because he was being pushed around by his owner's son, who was like this drug addict. And it's really cool to see that happen for those characters because you actively have to break the wall of their protocol, because when a human gives an order, they have to obey it um, without without fighting back or anything. And it. took all off, and people are like, they took our gerbs, and they're harassing androids and stuff and protesting androids. And
What the
yeah,
hell
but
was that?
well, have you never seen the haven't you seen the South Park episode where
I have not
people from
seen
the
all the
future?
South Park
No.
episodes.
Oh man, you have to see it. Basically, people from the future come back to the past because in the future they don't have jobs, and they basically do all the menial tasks that minorities normally do. And the rednecks are all like, "They took our jobs."
Oh my god! Wow.
It's basically that, but with androids instead of people. And it's told very well. Like the cinematography and the cutscenes, the dialogue is probably the best it's been in any David Cage game, honestly.
It looks
um
great from a like a visual standpoint and
it
from a
looks
performance
really
capture
good, and
standpoint.
I have like a base PlayStation 4, so
Yeah,
it looks really good. Like the performance capture looks so uncanny. It's like really creepy. You could tell like, oh, that's that actor, that's that actress. Even the ones that they basically made up to look different are, you're like, oh wait, I know that person. Oh, it's that guy from that movie. Oh wow, they like put him in this game. Huh? I did not expect him to be in a video game, but like it's really well done. And the story is really, it's like this, it's a really interesting take on like civil rights movement, and like a people standing up for their rights, and you get to decide how they
perceive.
move,
Yeah,
how they perceive you. Are you going to be violent? Are you going to be a pacifist? I'm going to tell you this: pacifist route is so hard to maintain,
yeah,
because
I know.
because you're an android, and your people are dying because they get gunned down because they don't care, because you're just merchandise to them. And like every fiber in my being was like, fight back. Yeah, no,
I
no.
played like a mix because
uh,
the TV station mission,
yeah.
the guy died there. With I couldn't. I was like, nah.
Ooh, no, I was able to save him
Oh, he
somehow.
died. Yeah, he ran
Like
away, and then we
he
shot
got injured, so we left him there with a gun.
him. Yeah.
I
No,
first
I'm talking about the guy that tried to run away. There's this civilian that tries to run away in the TV station to sound the alarm.
Oh,
I think it was
yeah.
like an option to
Yeah,
either keep him alive or let it. I killed him.
let him run.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
I
let him
killed him.
run.
Yeah. No, you're talking about the guy that goes on the roof. You mean?
Yeah,
Yeah, I took
Simon.
him with me. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But like the guy that tried to run away, bang bang.
yeah. Yeah, I couldn't take Simon with me because he couldn't move his legs, but somehow he survived. I don't know how, but somehow he survived. It's like, "Oh, okay. You're suddenly here?
But
Cool."
that's the cool part around the game, that when you finish a level, you see all the options and
The
you see
flow
the
chart, yeah.
what you did. And sometimes I would see completely branching past, like, whoa, I didn't even know that was possible. I finished it once and I didn't want to go back because it was like, it's okay. I'm at peace with the way it was. But it's really cool to
Yeah,
see that there's
same.
so much to do. You can like play a mission, maybe there's sometimes 10 options, and I'm like, whoa, this is pretty extensive and intense, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I tried to go as most passive run as I possibly could in that specific storyline. The storyline with the caretaker Kara and the girl Alice. Wow, that one. Should I spoil how that one goes?
Sure, why not?
Sure. Okay, spoilers for Detroit here as well. Um, yeah. So the daughter that she saved was an android. So the little girl is an android, but you don't know that she's an android until
The end.
three ways and like past the halfway mark, where you suddenly get hints of, hey, she's different, and then you're like, wait, does that mean that she's also an android? But the thing is, androids always have these LED circles on the right side of their temple, to notify that they're an android. And when your two of your characters become deviants, they take that LED off so that they look completely human, unless they peel back their skin. well, peel. Ah, that sounds
when
really
they
gross.
turn off their
They
skin.
they turn off their skin because it's like this synthetic skin that looks like skin, but they can turn it off and you can see their actual plastic arms and stuff like that. And yeah, so you find out that she's an android and that Kara actually knew that she was an android because early on in her story, she finds a magazine in her owner's bedroom that is a magazine that's advertising little children, like exactly that model of the girl that Alice is.
You know what I wonder? Why did the father get her if he treats her like that?
Yeah, so here's the thing, because in that early part of the story, you find a picture of his family and you see the wife and the child. The child is blonde in that picture, not the brunette.
Mm.
So I think what happened is because he said that his wife left him. I think his wife left him and took his child with him.
Ah, okay.
And he was probably so upset, plus he was all high on what they call red crystals or red dust or whatever. Um that he probably got the android daughter, named him after his daughter, and because he's so high all the time, he probably at the certain point damaged her that the LED fell off. So that's why you don't see the LED on on Alice, because when you start the game, you start as Connor, which is the investigator, and then you switch to Kara, who was in the store being fixed up because she had a stupid accident with a car, which should not be possible because everything in this world is automated, including cars. So yeah, obviously he beat her up so bad that she was broken and he took her in for repairs. And every time he takes her in for repairs, she gets reset, so she loses all memory of it, and that's why she doesn't remember being broken and how she got being broken.
Yeah.
But when she breaks through that protocol, man, that is so like very powerful moment because literally her internal visualization of herself is breaking down these the barrier of the order that she got from her owner called Todd. Like, say, don't move from this spot. You're literally tearing it down, and when you tear it down, you can do whatever you want. You can confront Todd. You can go upstairs and try and take Alice away. I tried to confront Todd and try to appease him a bit, like try to calm him down, but he's a jerk who's high on red crystal. So he went upstairs and he started beating Alice. So I went upstairs, took his gun, tried to shoot him, but I couldn't shoot him because, like I said, the gameplay in this game sucks because it's all QTE and it's all very short QTE. You have to really be paying attention. Like, if you're not paying attention, you're gonna fail out and you're gonna die. And I almost did. Luckily for me, I had built up enough trust with Alice. She picked up the gun and shot him. And that's how he escaped.
I can't remember how mine went because it's been a while since I played it. But
Yeah,
the
it's
fun
just
part about these things is like people have completely different experiences.
exactly. That's also the cool thing because when you're done, you can check the flow chart to see what you did,
Yeah,
how everybody in the world chose, like the percentage of that.
yeah.
And you can see specifically people in your friends list that have also played the game, how they chose. Most of the people on my friends list that played the game apparently chose a similar route that I did.
Mm.
Because a lot of them was like, oh, like 100%, 100%, 100%. It's like, oh, okay. They kind of fall, they kind of float the same way.
So
So
we have a lot of pacifist friends apparently.
yeah, no, actually, no, because when I checked that part, of the story, about 70% chose the pacifist route. So at least 30% did not.
I think I'm part of the 30%.
Ah, there you go.
But
But
hey,
yeah, that is the special, like all the stories are really cool. Between that and like building up the resistance and being the android Connor and like researching the why androids are becoming deviants and him himself finally coming to terms, or is he gonna turn deviant or not? That was really cool. And then you, oh man, that like the story is so like well crafted. Like
Yeah. I mean, all
it's
things considered, it's a nice game. I got it for free with PS Plus, and I mean,
same. Yeah,
I,
I just
I
downloaded
wanted
the PS
to
Plus.
buy it when it was $30. Or I thought like, okay, when it's $30, I'll buy it, and eventually I got it for free, and we're like, this is not a bad deal.
Yeah, we got that when they announced that PlayStation was not attending E3. That's when they did that stuff.
I
So
can't
last
remember.
year.
Yeah, I played it
Yeah.
last year. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I started that when I finished Last of Us, and literally the next day I was done.
Wow.
Yeah.
I took.
I was also surprised. I was like, "Oh, I'm almost at the end already." Okay.
Wow. Okay, damn, I didn't expect that. No,
Yeah.
it took me like I played it slowly, so like 2 weeks or something like that.
Yeah. I was able to get the androids finally to achieve freedom. So that was cool. Um yeah, it's like it's a really well told story. I just hate the gameplay. I mean, I've never liked the gameplay in any of David Cage's games, starting from the first game, Fahrenheit. I forget Fahrenheit something or other, and
Heavy Rain, Beyond Two Souls.
Heavy Rain. But I played Heavy Rain a bit, but that one is just unplayable to me at all. Like at all. I played Beyond Two Souls. I finished Beyond Two Souls. The same issues mostly. The gameplay is less egregious because there's actually stuff that you can manipulate, but the story is not as fun. This one, the story is way more compelling because of the choices and seeing the choices that you made and what you could have made. You can already predict, like, oh, this line is probably what would have happened if this person, disagreed, and it would have branched off in this many like decisions afterwards and stuff like that. But the not having a combat system in these games really hurts the experience to me, because there were certain moments where I was like, you know what? I kind of don't want to play this anymore because I'm just failing on the QTEs, and you can't go back until you finish the game. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Uh, so I mean that's basically what I've been playing, and it's like, yeah, great stories. Kind of wish the gameplay was a bit more compelling.
I can imagine.
So, what have you been playing?
Well, after that super long stint, I don't think I have been able. I can't fill another 30 minutes. So, um, I haven't been playing a lot. So I think I mentioned last time that I started playing Gears Tactics.
Mm,
So I started playing that a little bit more. It's not as expensive as an XCOM, for example, but it's really fun. It's pretty like it feels good. It has character customization, RPG mechanics in there. You can recruit different kinds of unit soldiers with different classes, such as a sniper or a support gunner and stuff like that. Um, there's a pretty extensive skill tree in there, so you can upgrade your characters with a lot of skills. You can
is
also,
there permadeath in this one?
for certain characters, there is.
Hmm.
Yeah, so like in the missions, you generally have an objective saying characters X, Y, and Z cannot die, and then the fourth one can die if you pick them at least. Um, so you can also, if a character gets shot, for example, in the next turn he can try to revive himself, or basically revive himself, and then if he gets shot again, you can still revive him with another character.
Oh,
But
cool.
the tricky part is I'm stuck at a boss right now, and I just can't seem to get past it. So because of that, I just stopped playing it. I was like, I'll just come back another time because I forgot how the boss was called, but it's this huge creature, like almost like a T Rex, and it has guns on its arms, and it has like a rocket backpack, to put it that way, and then he can shoot with his guns. He can trample you. He can shoot rockets, and then as to kill him you can destroy both guns, but then he shoots the rockets and tramples you. There's this backpack with rockets in it and also some emulsion, so you can try to destroy those cells and then he probably dies. But
Hmm.
um, he constantly keeps shooting rockets, and then in the next turn they drop. other enemies spawn in as well. And my tactic has been to split my team into two groups and then say like one group is on one side of the level, the other is on the other side. So he keeps on turning so you can shoot the stuff on his back or on his arms. But it's really annoying because his trample attack is super strong, so he can just basically kill you in two turns, and he can trample, shoot, and sometimes shoot rockets as well, all in one turn. And you're like, ah. So because of that, I'm like, okay, I need a break from this. So I stopped playing that for a while. I started playing Shadow of the Colossus, the remastered version on the PS4. I haven't played the original one on the PS2, so it was all new for me. Um,
Mm.
it's it's really nice because it has a really nice atmosphere. Um, the game looks amazing for a remaster. It's pretty simple to play. Like the controls aren't too difficult. I killed my first Colossus. It's strange that you have a horse that you can use to traverse around, but you have to press triangle, I believe, to get the horse to run. If you push the analog stick forward, it doesn't do anything. So it's really strange controls in that part. Um, I calibrated my TV a while back, so like my colors are far better, but because of the calibration, I lose a bit of brightness. So during the day, I can't really play the game because there are dark areas and I just can't see what's happening. So I need to wait till the sun sets so I can play the game. I had the same issue with Uncharted 2. So yeah, I kind of had like first world struggles there. But yeah, basically that. I finished Uncharted 1. I started playing 2, but as I just mentioned, because of the calibration thingy, I'm in the Istanbul museum part, but it's in the night, the map, so it's really difficult to see. So I really have to play it every time when the sun sets, and I'm just like, yeah, when it has to be done like that, I'm not waiting for that. So I thought like, okay, I'll play that another time. It was fun to go back to Uncharted 1 because Uncharted 1 hasn't aged well. I mean, the controls are still a bit strange. The puzzles are sometimes a little bit annoying that you jump too far and then you die. I had instances in which the checkpoints, from at least it felt like it should have saved and it didn't save, so I had to restart a complete area. Um, you can really notice a difference because Uncharted 2 got a Game of the Year award and Uncharted 1 did not. That like the leap from 1 to 2, what they did in 2 is amazing. You can really notice a difference in everything, in character design, in graphics, in gameplay, in quality. In Uncharted 1 is really like a lot of shooting, sometimes a bit of puzzling. And then in Uncharted 2 they have this amazing mix of how they do that. And Nate feels a bit stiff in Uncharted 1, whereas in 2 he's a lot more relaxed and he's a lot more real. There's this part on top of a rooftop in Nepal that you're with one of the characters, and then there's this pool, and then if you jump into the pool, you have to do that to get a trophy. You jump into the pool, and then he says, "Oh, oh, oh." I don't know the game, but apparently it's Marco Polo, and they say like he says, "Oh, oh,
Yeah, Marco
Marco,"
Polo.
and then she
Yeah.
has to shout Polo, and she says, "Really?" I was like, "Come on, come on, Marco," and then she says Polo, and I was like, "Oh, why are you saying it like that?" So there's a little bit more realness to the characters, which I really like. And it's also a lot more of these epic set pieces. So the first part is that you start wounded in a train, and the train is hanging off of a cliff. And then just getting out of the train is like this super cool roller coaster ride because at any moment you can slip, or one of the things you grab on breaks and pivots you into another area of the map. So they really went to the roller coaster ride experience with the
Yeah,
second.
the set pieces. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really nice. I started playing Control on the PC because I got it with my graphics card last year. I totally forgot about that. Um, I I'm a bit mixed on Control because um, it's just like I played Death Stranding and that was a weird game, but this is just so weird because it throws you into the game without any explanation. So you walk into the bureau, the Federal Bureau of Control, as it is called, which is basically an FBI counterpart, but then focused on paranormal stuff with other dimension travels and stuff like that. But you basically walk in there, you hear a voice in your head, or the characters talking to a voice in their head, but there's no explanation as why you're there or what's going on, or There's no kind of like intro into the game. You just it almost feels like you walk into the movie theater and you just walk into a movie halfway through and you just sit there and you watch the movie and you have no idea what's happening. So it's a bit getting used to that. But besides that, it's pretty cool because they have a lot of cool stuff going around. That, for example, you have a gun that doesn't have ammo, so it recharges out of itself. The gun also has like all sorts of expandability. You can get skills for your characters, but you can also equip mods for your character. And your character has this option to, for example, melee. So he does this kind of like an air burst, and then there's some destructible environments in there. So I didn't know that. So when I did it, you just saw parts of the wall breaking, and you saw chairs and tables cracking. So it was really cool to see. And the further you get, the more abilities you have. So I have this ability in which I can make stuff float and then shoot it, kind of like a Jedi force power. And I can also dash really quickly. Um, it's still a bit strange because basically what's happened is you walk into the FBC and then you see that it's deserted and you try to figure out what's going on. And there's this thing called the hiss, as they call it, and they have taken over everybody. So those are basically the enemies you have to fight. But there are this paranormal, strange activity. You have people floating around, for example, who are kind of chanting, which makes it a bit creepy. For example, um, yeah. The cool part is this is one of the games that uses DLSS, which is part of RTX. RTX is NVIDIA's ray tracing, and DLSS is a technology. What they basically do is they use cloud computing and machine learning to scan the game and then render it, and then you get a boost to your frame rate. So what happens is the game is rendered. It's rendered at 4K. You see a 4K image, but it's actually 2560 by 1440. What does, but it boosts the frame rate a lot. So for example, when I turned it off, I had 30 to 40 frames on ultra, and when I turned it on, I had a solid 60 frames. So there's a pretty big difference in there. So it's really cool to see. And recently they introduced DLSS 2.0. Control has that as well, which also, because in the first version of DLSS, you would get that details would either be washed out or details would look a little bit more blurry or lower res. And they fixed that with DLSS 2.0. So it's a lot more better. A lot more better. Wow, that's not it's just bad. So it's a lot better, and it really shines. So I know that Battlefield, for example, had DLSS, but I didn't really notice it. So here I really turned it on and off, and I saw a big difference. So that's really cool to see. And Nvidia hopefully wants other developers to incorporate DLSS as well in ray tracing. So for example, Minecraft got the ray tracing update that also supports DLSS 2.0. So I never thought it would boost the frame rate by such a big margin. So that's pretty cool to see that it does that. And it in the end it just adds to the experience, and the game looks beautiful. It's not like the game's looking any uglier because of it, or because you're using the LSS. So that's really nice. um Besides that, I started playing
How's
Shogun.
the gameplay, by the way, like in Control?
It feels a lot like Max Payne, which I like.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the sound design is also nice. The way the gun sounds is really cool. Um, yeah, it felt like I was playing Max Payne, and I love Max Payne. So because it's also by the same developer, Remedy, the gunplay and the sound design is really cool. The funny thing is that the voice actor for Max Payne is a character in this game, and he's also uses likeliness. So it's cool to see that they're like, hey, that's Max Payne. That was a really fun surprise. I'm like, oh, I didn't expect that. Um,
Alright.
I played that, and I played another. Yeah, I started playing Shogun 2 again. I don't know why, because I was still having that issue with Three Kingdoms with the saves, and I've taken a bit more of a conservative approach because normally with Total War, I'm the guy that all out is. I'm always about all out war because the game's called Total War for a reason. At least that's what I think. So normally I'm just the guy that just attacks everybody. You're like, ah! And now I've taken a bit more of a conservative approach. I'm a lot more focusing on diplomacy, trade agreements, non-aggression pacts, slowly building my army, making sure I have food stockpiled and enough income. So I've taken a bit of a slower approach, which is strange for me because I'm not used to that. But it adds a certain dimension to the game for me as well. So because maybe I was in the Ghost of Tsushima mood, went back to play Shogun again.
All right,
And
cool, cool.
that's basically it. I want to start on The Last of Us again, but I want to do that closer to launch so that when I finish The Last of Us, I can jump in Last of Us 2 either directly or shortly after. So it's kind of like fresh in my mind. And I still need to finish all the Uncharted. I still want to do that because Uncharted's really cool and fun. And I'm thinking about maybe either playing God. I was thinking about playing God of War again. Or I gave it to a friend, so I still have to pick it up from there. I also gave Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, lended that to another friend, so I have to get that back as well. So maybe I'll just play Spider Man again or something like that. It's been a while since I played it, so
Okay,
but that's basically it.
cool.
Yeah, I think we're gonna leave it at that because it's been a pretty long episode, and
Yeah,
we're kind of pausing the hidden
the
gems.
hidden gems.
We're evaluating it. Also because I mean I love the hidden gem, but sometimes for us it's a bit forced. So like we have to come up with a hidden gem, and sometimes we make a list and then we tick off the list, and then we have a hidden gem every episode. But like the last few episodes, I don't know about
It's
you, but
been
like
hard to
I had
come.
to
Yeah,
crack my brain, like, oh, I don't know what a hidden gem. I don't have a hidden gem. And then I went through my Steam library, and I went through my Origin library. I went to my PlayStation library, and eventually, like, yeah, okay, but maybe we should rethink the idea of a hidden gem. So we're kind of thinking about, okay, a hidden gem. If we really have a title, we're like, oh, I know this game. Oh, this is so amazing, and it feels natural. Then we might bring hidden gem back again and kind of do like a once in a while segment. We're
yeah.
thinking of a new segment to use as a filler for hidden gem, but maybe people like the format that we have, that we just take a little bit more time to discuss the news and what we've been playing. So definitely give
I
us.
mean, basically, right now, what I did was like a extended kind of like review of my experience with Detroit and Last of Us. So
Yeah, but if people like that, we can
yeah,
definitely do that. So I think if people want us to continue kind of on that path, let us know. Just give us the feedback. Even if you don't like it, let us know as well, because it can only get the show make the show better. If people have ideas or if they want to touch on, I know like a lot of people said that the thing that Negative did was really cool. That he asked us questions, kind of asked our opinion on stuff. People responded well to that. They like that, so we can maybe do something like that if people want it. Just let us know whatever you want. So whatever you want, what you would think would be nice to do.
there are limits to what we can
Yeah,
do.
there are limits. Like I can't make a rabbit. I can't pull a rabbit out of a hat or something like that. But yeah, basically, let us know. Provide us with feedback if you have any ideas or suggestions. Those are welcome. Um, I'll quickly tie it over to our outro, as we call it. So thank you again for listening, as always. You can reach us on a shitload of social media platforms such as Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Overcast, you name it, we're probably there. You can leave us a voice message through either the Anchor app or a link in our description. You can just click on it, leave a voice message. You don't have to make an account. You can email us, gamerivalsfeedback@gmail.com. You can tweet us at game underscore rivals underscore. You can tweet Maximilian at Maximilian. We have an Instagram at Game Rivals, probably link in the description. We have a YouTube channel, also link in the description because apparently there are a lot of Game Rivals on YouTube, and we thought we were the only ones and the original ones. Um, and did I forget anything?
No, I think you did it. Yeah, that's it.
Alrighty.
So thanks for listening, guys. Um, yeah, it's been a really interesting period of time. I'm assuming not just for us, but for everyone. So remember, stay safe. Don't forget to wash your hands. Social distancing, very important, especially now that countries are starting to
I
ease
heard another one the
restrictions.
other day, physical distancing. I'm like, wow,
Yeah, physical distancing.
that's
Yeah, I
actually
mean,
more appropriate than social distancing.
yeah, physical distancing. Stay at least 2 meters away from each other.
Yeah.
So
Well,
Yeah,
that's it.
um,
I guess.
that's it.
Yeah, my name is Sean Templar as always,
I am Maximilian X,
and we'll
and
catch
we'll
you in
see
the
you
next
guys next time.
one.
Later, guys.